Hello, people. This is Lee Cole from the Lee Cole 3 podcast with my partner, James Proctor. James, how you doing today?
Hey, doing good, Lee. How are you?
Well, I'm very well, thank you. We've been keeping very busy, and we're going to have a story about Chris Paciello. Now, he was originally one of the Bath Avenue. He hung around with them. He wasn't really one of them, was he?
No, I mean he hung around with them. He also had a gang he was part of in Staten Island, and
Right.
so he did a few different things.
And we're going to talk about his life. Very fascinating life, but the fact of the matter is, he put a lot of people away. 70 people he informed on. They estimated he. I'm going to read a little what the district attorney or the prosecutor, federal prosecutor said about him. But
Yeah.
he was born Christian Ludwigson, and he was
Yep.
born in Brooklyn Borough Park in 1971. So why don't you give us an idea a little bit more about his upbringing?
Yeah. So his mom was a one-time hairdresser. His father was actually pretty interesting. George was his name, and so he was a bouncer at a lot of the clubs in the area, and he also was a former arm wrestling champion. And in addition, this was one of the more fascinating facts about him is he actually tried out for the New York Giants in 1975, and he almost made the team as a walk-on. But if anyone that remembers those Giant teams of the mid 70s, they weren't that good. But
No, they weren't.
yeah,
Well,
but he actually did really well. Very strong guy, and so his dad was
but
very much.
his father had his addiction,
Yep,
and basically the family pulled away, and it was
yep,
a single mother raising them, and
yep, exactly.
this is him and his brother and
Yep,
their mom. And the
yep,
reason I'm showing these pictures, I don't usually show pictures if they have, but they've been out there before, plenty of places.
right.
So by his mid-teens, he already started being a criminal on the street, didn't he?
Yeah, so he actually quit school when he was 16. He was someone that got into a lot of fights. He started getting arrested at an early age. He was getting caught breaking into cars, and so that was it started early for him.
And he got eventually. He was in Brooklyn. He moved to Staten Island, but he
Yep,
came back to Brooklyn. He hung out with the Bath Avenue boys and
yep,
Jimmy Calandra, Paulie G, uh,
hmm,
and those guys.
yep,
Uh, and we're gonna. His whole story though is because he was involved in a shooting.
yep,
Jimmy Calandra talks about it a lot on his show,
hmm,
and Jimmy
yep,
Calandra was involved with the shooting, and so was Tommy Reynolds.
yep,
And they shot a woman at a doorway. Tommy Reynolds, the gun went off, killed her,
yep,
and they sat in this murder for years, and it was never going to come forward, but it eventually did.
right.
And when the murder came forward, he based. How did they find out about the murder?
Yeah, so pretty much everyone started ratting back in Brooklyn. He was in Miami when this happened, and so it had been about 6 or 7 years after the actual murder had happened, and they start Jimmy and others had started ratting it was part of Bath Avenue
Yeah,
after
and
Polly had gotten killed.
and to give you an idea what he was doing down at that time, he became he robbed he did $1 million job at a bank and used that money to finance a club in Miami. Is that correct?
Yep, he definitely did that.
Okay, and while in this club that he was building, then when he finally was arrested, uh, he was in a just about had ready to go a club liquid,
Yeah,
and here's some of the people that Madonna. Now this is Chris Paciello.
yep.
Yeah, and this is some of the people he was with: Madonna, rappers,
Mike
Tyson,
Tyson. Yep.
and he was having an affair with Sophia Vagra. Oh God.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, and let's see, not Bill Catullo, but okay. So, but he knew a lot of people.
Yeah,
Uh,
he did. He really did.
they said that he was romantically tied to J Lo.
Hmm.
So here this guy is. He leaves. He forgets all about this murder. He goes down to Miami and he starts building the little empire.
Yep.
And then he gets busted. But
Yep.
when he got busted, there was a big surprise. While he was down in Miami, he was hooking up with some mobsters down there, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was getting involved with the Colombo crime family down there.
And who exactly was he getting involved with in general down there?
Yeah, so Bill Catullo was one, and then Alphonse Persico.
And now Bill Catullo wanted to put him on record with the Colombos by having him take out $100,000 loan.
Yep.
That kind of fell through because he went to Persico, and Persico pretty much picked up the mantle from that point on.
Right.
And him and Alley Boy started doing business together. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely so. And so, the other thing about this time, this was when around the time of the war that was happening, the third war with the Colombos. And so, it really put Chris in a very awkward situation because, he had both these guys that were enemies that were coming in wanting to get paid and be, on record.
So, and he had these clubs down there, and he has everything going in his life.
Yep.
But he still has a temper. He's still doing things down there that don't make any sense, huh?
Right. Yeah. And that's something that really surprised me is that, I always knew the story. He came down to South Florida. I figured at that point that he was just trying to leave his life of crime away. But, when he was down there, he was still getting into fights. And he was a tough kid. People didn't want to tangle with him.
And if he couldn't beat you with his hand, he hit you over the head with a bottle.
Yeah, exactly. He did that.
A weightlifter named Quinn, and really destroyed the guy's eye. He was never the same again.
Nope.
Because of what Paciello did to him.
Yeah.
So he's down there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this whole thing comes up with the murder. So of Judy Shemtov.
Yeah.
But the thing was that they didn't realize how much he was connected at that time to all these mobsters down there, what he was doing down there. His value was so much more than any of those Bath Avenue rats. Would you say that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. By this time, if you look at South Florida, number one, you're going to have it's pretty much a free agency territory. So, all the families are down there. There's a lot of mobsters that retire there. They work there. And so he was on record with the Colombo family, and, pretty much several other families were down there as well visiting the club. So he was not able to get away from his past or his mafia friends.
And here's what happened when they arrested. This is what they say about him. But according to hundreds of pages of sealed court documents, including interviews he gave to his government handlers,
Mm-hmm.
the New York Times obtained confidential source. Paciello snitching to the FBI was far more extensive and damaging to the mafia's interest than previously reported. Between 2000 and 2001, the FBI met with the fallen club king 8 times, conducted 15 hours of interview. During those meetings, Paciello detailed not only his own criminal history, but those of dozens of mob colleagues. Some of the secrets contained in the documents that the former here we go. 1997, a plot involving Paciello and Colombo crime family boss Alphonse Persico to try to kill a dissident mafiosa. Paciello secretly pleaded guilty and got off virtually scot-free. The 1994 kidnapping of a Staten Island businessman from an auto repair shop by Paciello and a Banana family soldier. The $1 million robbery of a Westminster bank in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, that provided the startup capital for Paciello's first Miami Beach nightclub. The burglary of more than 30 bank, and this is what he's done. This is some of the stuff that he did with the Bath Avenue boys. The burglary of 30 bank night safety boxes in 4 states by Paciello in alliance with members of the Banana affiliated gang. This is another gang the New Springfield Boys, and he ratted and he testified against them. And just so you know, the guy that ran that group at that time, let me see if we can find it here, was a guy named Lee. One second. Okay, his name is Lee DeVazzo, and that is Drea from Mob Wives, and that's her husband Lee, and he put him away, and he brought down the whole New Springfield Boys. He put them all in prison.
Yeah,
I mean, so.
And they were doing a lot there in Staten Island. So, you know, a lot of them were they were kids of people that were in the life. And so, you know, a lot of them actually had kids that had money already. But yeah, there were definitely a lot of crimes that was with this group.
And here's the most amazing thing. Most significantly, Paciello fingered 2 made members of the Bonanno family, which led ultimately to the takedown of almost the entire upper echelon of the organization, including the family boss, Joe Messina. This is something that even the FBI undercover agent, Joe Pistone, Donnie Brasco, never managed to achieve during the 6 years of infiltrating.
The
Bonanno family.
Infiltration. Yeah, that infiltration.
Yeah,
right.
When I fuck up a word, you jump in on it.
Okay.
Paciello's cooperation with the federal government was unprecedented. According to a March 2004 letter by his then lawyer, Ben Brofman, up to the court, Brofman estimated that more than 70 people had been prosecuted directly and indirectly as a result of his cooperation. This was largely confirmed in a subsequent letter sent by the U.S. District Attorney's Office in Brooklyn. During Paciello's 2004 sentence hearing at the federal court in Brooklyn, U.S. Attorney Greg Andres spelled out important behind-the-scenes role that Paciello had played in crime boss Messino's conviction. So here we talk about Messino all the time. He wound up becoming a rat. A lot of guys testified again, but a lot of people don't realize that Paciello was one of the main guys.
Yeah, he was. And did you realize that? They talk about the prosecutor Andres. That's the one that you remember. They also, we were talking about Vinny Gorgeous, and so that was the prosecutor that he had allegedly made threats and wanted to take out.
And he even testified along with Mikey Scars in the same case. So, you're putting this guy, people think that this guy, he came up and, the murder, he gave up a couple people. No, he was he was Sam Rigavano part 2.
Yeah.
Or
70 people. That's just, that's as many as Mikey Scars himself, put away.
And I'm going to show you. So this guy, once he gets released, he goes out to California.
Yeah.
He opens up a couple pizzerias. He's fighting with the partners there. He winds up getting into a knife fight. And he figures, I better go back to Miami. He goes back to Miami. And then he starts up again. And to give you an idea, let me show you what this guy did when he went back, what he's still doing.
Yeah.
Okay, explain to us this club right here.
So, anatomy. So that's really it's a gym, but also they have a lot of other stuff like, I would call it more of an expensive gym. You have spas, you've got a lot of different things.
Massages. Basically, if you go there, he's dealing with the upper class people in the Miami area, actors.
Right.
I mean, this is what he's doing. And there he is right there. I mean, he's with his brother. And this is more current, people. This is after he testified and everything. This guy is worth millions of dollars. And pretty much they wanted to send him to Wisconsin. And he said, I ain't going in no program.
No.
And he decided that he would prefer to get, and he says down there, and he brags, he goes, here I am, come get me.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting. Even today, you have dozens of made guys that have retired there, or they live there, and or they visit, and nothing's happened to him. It's just amazing to me. I mean, this guy also, in my opinion, has just a lot of luck. He's just came across the right people at the right time to help him make it in business.
And let's talk about I'm sorry, let me try to find one more picture of it. Nope. Okay. So let's talk about another thing. He
Yep.
also has a bunch of businesses, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
And how many businesses would you say that he has?
Yeah, I mean, right now there's three of them are active. If you look, I know it's probably hard to see, but there's you know more than a dozen businesses that he had. A lot of them are even go back to when he had Liquid and Risk and those clubs. But what he's doing now is the Vita Squad, that's part of the that's more of the spa that's in anatomy, and then the others are he's got a consulting company, so he'll give advice to different companies on restaurants, bars, that type of thing, and then also he's got more of what I'd call financial management.
And on top of that, if you go to the officer, the registration office in Florida, you can find all this information.
Hmm.
It's not any private information we're putting up. We wouldn't do
Yeah,
that.
right.
This is corporation. Him, his mother, his brother, and other people would hit the last name Ludwigson. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking lots of businesses.
Hmm.
Okay, and then here's another thing.
Hmm.
He buys a house last year,
Yeah.
and he buys the house and a little bit over 5 million, maybe 7 million. Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
like 2 million. What's 2 million?
Yeah.
Then he sells the house 30 days later
Hmm.
with a 50% profit.
Yeah. That doesn't seem right. There's something funny there. I mean, you know,
Yeah, I mean, 30 days later. Come on, guys.
yeah,
It's obvious this guy is still who he is, and he's just dealing with a different level of people.
yeah, exactly. And that's where what he's been able to do that a lot of others hadn't is, definitely the guy's got looks. He's got a charisma about him. Women just flock to him. And so he's able to get people that already have money to be able to help him out. So, he had Ingrid Caceres, that was Madonna's ex lover, that really helped him a lot with Liquid and the work that he was doing before he got arrested. But that's where he was able to get all of these contacts. I mean, he knew dozens and dozens of celebrities, and they would just flock
And
to
and he
his
was
place.
and he, Sophia Viagra,
Yeah.
uh, she uh, she she was with him. She was with him in court when he was
Yep.
on trial. He used to blow kisses at her in court. Uh,
Well, and she even, what's even amazing to me is that, is a $15 million bail or bond for him to get out, and she actually put up
help
her
him come up with it.
property. Yep.
Yeah. Vergara. I'm sorry. Okay, Sophia Vergara, and that's how I'm going
Yeah.
to pronounce her name. And then here is with Madonna right here. I mean,
Yeah.
you can go on and on. I mean, uh, if you read it, his story is a fascinating one. But this has a lot of things wrong too. Uh, this story from the okay, and I'm going to explain these to you in a minute. The Smoking Gun
Yeah.
also did a story on him,
Yeah.
but the story that was done in the Post called Jimmy Calandra the leader of the Bath Avenue Boys, and we know that ain't the case.
No.
It was just kind of a sloppy story because it was done before the mob genre was here, and I guess
Right.
people could say whatever and get
Mhm.
away with it. But he wrote this long 9-page letter to the judge,
Yep.
and I'm going to put all these links if people want to take a look at them underneath this. And the guy survived. I mean, and you're talking. This guy is. We can't say nothing about. Oh my God, my emails here. God Almighty! I'm glad I have no freaky emails. Okay. So this guy, let me get this down. So would you say that this guy is a very lucky man?
Yeah, I'd say he's lucky because he pissed off a lot of people when he left. He actually had to leave Brooklyn and Staten Island because he was upsetting people with with the crimes that he was committing because he was doing stuff against people that were made and people weren't to basically he was getting a bad reputation and he had to leave is what happened.
And the
It's
night of when Judy Shemtov was killed,
hmm
he was with Jimmy Calandria and Tommy Reynolds, and
yeah,
nobody, the fourth person.
yeah,
But when he was with them, when Tommy Reynolds came out to the car, and after they drove on a little bit, and I might be telling this story wrong. If I am, I apologize, Jimmy Calandria. You were in the car,
yeah.
uh, but Tommy Reynolds put a gun to his head.
Yep.
And tell us about that. What Tommy Reynolds said to him.
Yeah. So basically what happened was is that they run to the vehicle after what happened, and so Chris was the driver is what
Right,
I
this
had
is the
read,
driver.
and then he was upset. Chris was obviously upset about everything, and so Tommy was freaking out. He was saying, I'm going to go to hell and all that stuff, and then later Chris is just really upset about it, and Tommy goes to him, puts a gun to his head, and said, are you going to basically rat? Are you going to, you know, be a pussy about this? And he said, no, it won't. No one will ever know. And then he put the gun down. Tommy Reynolds did.
Well, as it turned out, the only one that didn't rat on that whole thing was Tommy Reynolds, because he's
Yep.
doing 50 years in prison for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Jimmy
And Tom.
Calandra talked about it. He talked about it, and then they talked about
Mhm.
other things. Joey Calco came forward. I mean, they were having
Yeah.
a field day. All the big bad Bath Avenue boys started flipping left and right.
Yeah, and so what happened after that was what caused Chris to go down to South Florida was he was working with the Catanza cousins, and so they'd set up a score to steal 2,000 pounds of marijuana, and I guess they knew about this U-Haul truck that had marijuana in it, and so it was like worth $2 million, and so the plan was they were going to split up 5 ways this pot. And so they were going to each person would take 400 pounds of pot. They could do whatever they wanted with it. And so Chris decided for whatever reason that Franny Costanza should not get his share. And so not sure what caused it, but basically he stole the Franny's 400 pounds of marijuana. And the way he did it was, and Chris was amazing when it came to stealing vehicles or robbing. So he planted a bug inside the bales of pot that Franny had, and then later he was able to go and grab the pot when Franny was asleep. And so the thing was, Chris was known for ripping off his friends. That was the reputation he was getting, and so he had to leave for South Beach and get out of there.
And in the end, of course, he got Alley Boy Persico. He had a boat, and
Yeah.
at that time he was out on bond.
Hmm.
And but Chris told them that there was a gun in the boat, on the boat, and being that,
Oh wow.
and that boat, that gun, when they pulled over the boat and they arrested them, that gun gave them the right to take in Persico,
Mm.
because there was no reason to stop him. He wasn't doing anything illegal,
Yeah.
but they knew about the gun,
Mm.
and just because of that gun, and that's when that's how good of a rat this guy was. I mean,
Yeah.
he was just putting information out there nobody else had.
Right.
The reality is this: Chris Paciello can walk around a tough guy and stuff,
Hmm.
but when the heat came down on him, he folded like an accordion, and Tommy Reynolds probably regrets that he ever let him walk away that night.
Oh yeah, yeah, I'm sure about that. And some of the other stuff he was doing was he was known also for, and he did this down in Florida. Is that his club Risk, it stopped. So club, that's a difficult business, and so you'll a lot of them will start off strong, and then after a few months, they're no longer the cool place to go. There'll be another club that'll get started that people go to. So anyway, when Risk was starting to slow down, he torched the place so that he could get an insurance settlement of $250,000. And so that's something that he did quite a bit. Would torch buildings. He would go after competitors, other clubs that were competitors to him, and so he was ruthless, even in South Florida.
And his Hollywood friends and stuff, they all thought that he was a low level rat, that he didn't really know people to rat on.
Right.
And, a lot of them were pissed when they found out that it was a lot of really big people that he ratted on. It was like, you're talking bosses of families here.
Yeah.
And if he didn't rat on them, he led to investigations that caused other people, like Messino,
Right.
people to rat on him.
Right.
It's like every ratting story we hear, Messino or a group of people around him seem to be involved in it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what happened. And even the first club that he had down there was actually owned by it was I'm sorry, it was the club that he had actually had Johnny Rizzo and Jackie Nose as partners in it. So he had actually done some stuff with the Gambinos with his first club, Risk, and this was before he got involved with the Columbos.
And it was the Clumbos and Bonanos that he actually gave all that information on out of those two families. But also, he was very good friends with Mickey Rourke, the actor. He was friends with Kevin Conley of Entourage.
Yeah.
And he was very good friends with Diana Ross's son, Evan. I mean, they were like best friend. And he was with supermodels with Jessica Stam and Salit Eubanks. I mean, these women would give him all sorts of money.
Yeah.
They would, and then there was a movie made and a book. The movie was horrible. I don't know if you've seen the movie.
I didn't see the movie, but I did read the book about him.
I'm not sure how accurate the book was because I didn't read it, but the movie was awful. I mean, it was garbage. It was so inaccurate.
Yeah.
It was just really, really inaccurate.
Mm.
So what else can you? I'm sorry. What else can you tell us about this guy?
No, I mean what I can tell you about him was that he never he wanted to actually start clubs up in New York, but it just never would work out. He never could get the building. I think part of the problem also was that people did not trust him to be in New York. He wasn't going to make it there. I'm just very surprised he survived all of this.
And he kind of used Studio 54 as kind of an idea for a club because he believed that black, white, straight, let's say drag queen, gangster, put them all in a room like Steve Rubin believed when he had Studio 54.
Yeah,
and he had all this money and to start the club. I mean, from the robbery, he had $1 million on him. And, we're talking back 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 30 years.
Yeah.
Ago. And that would bring these actors there. And the more people he met, they wanted to work with him and give them their money to invest.
Oh yeah. And that's what he would do, use other people's money. And one of the other things I wanted to mention was that we know that, he gets caught up in what happened when he's with Jimmy and Bath Avenue with Judy. But at the same time, Miami Beach was going after him. And so there was a guy named Andrew Doler that was an off-duty well, he worked for the Miami Beach police. He was actually a detective. And so he was brought in to be a security advisor for Chris. And so it was really a setup, though. And so the detective, what he was doing was just trying to get information about Chris, because there was a lot of complaints. And so eventually this detective that Chris thought was like this rogue cop that could give him inside information was actually a mole, and he was wearing a wire. And so this investigation was going on at the same time as what happened in Brooklyn when Mikey Yamini gave up everybody with Bath Avenue.
And Lee Diavanzo, one of the guys that he ratted on, this guy right here, originally invested $40,000 with Chris.
Yeah.
But then he started noticing the bad people that were involved, the sharks. So he took his $40,000 back and he left, but he warned everybody down there. He said, this guy's working with a bunch of sharks.
Yep.
And don't get involved with this guy. And unfortunately, they didn't listen. Also, he went to the Gambino family.
Mm-hmm.
He borrowed $450,000 from them. And he told him that he would give him $125,000 back up front and $15,000 a month. And if he missed 2 months, he would give the keys to the Gambino family.
Oh, wow.
And this is all stuff that, if you read, it goes on like a list of things. This guy's brain must have always been moving in 1,000 directions, don't you think?
Yeah, it really was. And he, he did know how to bring in people for a club. It was one of these, when he started in South Beach wasn't what it is today. I mean, South Beach was starting to get run down. A lot of people actually back then would be going up to Fort Lauderdale instead of Miami. But he was able to really help South Beach become this vogue place for people to go to. And so within a couple of years, it was just booming.
And then, by 1997, his relationship with Lee Diavanzo became really bad. And that's when he did a lot of ratting on the guy. I mean, he took down his whole group of guys out there in Springfield.
Yeah, right.
And none of his relationships with these people ever ended good. He was sleeping with one of the Springfield boys' wives or girlfriends. Yeah. The guy went down there to kill him, but by that time, he was already in police custody.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's so lucky that, there were so many close calls, and he was always able to escape. For whatever reason, something about him that he just was able to have good luck.
And he kept opening these clubs, and they would make money up front. I mean, look what he has now. They're still making money. I mean, stuff that he opened up 5-6 years ago is still making money, and it's still open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, he's tried, even since he came back, he tried to open a couple of nightclubs as well, besides the gym. And so I'm not, I don't know if they're still in business.
He got through COVID.
Yep.
You can say what you want. He got through COVID. And he has health clubs, and he got through COVID. And then he built this. I guess you had an empire. If you go buy a house and get 50% more back, on the house in 30 days, that gives you.
That's just crazy. Yeah, that's the type of luck he has. I mean, on that, something's a little foul with that. That's just, it's just no way someone would be able to make a 50% markup in just 30 days. So something's weird there.
And Paciello, when he talked about money that he was loan sharking, he talked about with Persico. He talked about he gave Persico up on all that stuff, but besides that, I mean, he was using his clubs to launder money. they got so much stuff out of him that they could have put him away for 2,000 years,
Yeah.
and he's out and he's living the life. Think about
Yeah,
it.
he was out by September of 2006, so less than 6 years he was in prison. And like we said at the beginning, it just amazed me that he had put away 70 people. That's about as many as
As Mikey Scars.
Mikey Scars, who was known to probably being the one that put away more than anybody.
And it says, right, Paciello participated in many crimes, most which were skated on because of his cooperation with the government. They just dropped these. They dropped these the crimes that because he started putting people away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just crazy to me. But yeah, I mean, you have to give him credit. He knew how to, do pretty well with the businesses. I mean, he just continues to persevere. You may think he's down, but then he comes back. He'll call himself the, Return of the King of South Beach. He really, really likes that aspect.
And here's what one of the people said, that you can't trust a soul, says one erstwhile mainstay of the Staten Island criminal underworld, who became so disgusted with his fellow mobsters informing each other that he quit the life, moved to South Florida, and got himself a straight job as a telemarketer. Whatever happened to the oath of omerta? It's like being a rat is accepted in criminal society. Chris isn't even going to get slapped for what he did, he adds. It wouldn't surprise me if some of the same people he snitched on, when they get out of prison, stop by his restaurant to say hello.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a good way to end this.
Yep, definitely so.
And people, we're not glorifying Chris Paciello, but what it comes down to, he landed on his feet. He's a multimillionaire. It can't be explained. I mean, this is an uneducated kid from that was doing crimes when he was 15, 16, serious crimes. And here he is all these years later, a very successful man that just sold a house that he bought for like $7 million. He just sold it for $15 million in 30 days.
Yeah. You know what I'd like as a follow-up to this is if maybe one of these days we can may interview someone that has been around him, that knows about him. I am fascinated by this story. It's just you don't see this that often. I mean, this kind of American dream type situation, but it's just it's hard to even believe unless it was it's true. But it's if you didn't know it was true, you'd think it was just
I forgot something else that he did. Paciello told feds that after Wild Bill Catullo mysteriously disappeared in May 1999, Persico had taken over as lieutenant's loan shark in operation. Paciello also implicated both men, and in 1997, that was Catullo and also Alley Boy, in the 1997 plot to murder former Colombo soldier Jerry Green Eyes Clemenza.
Wow.
So people, this isn't just a guy that just did one thing, two things. When we talk about, we're on here, we're talking about people that ratted. There's some rats that put away 1 or 2, 3 guys. Not this guy. He's probably still ratting, if you ask me. He's probably going to be owned forever by the FBI. If you're a criminal, stay the hell away from him. That's basically. And if you're a rich person looking to scam some money, stay the hell away from him, because he'll put you away someday.
Yeah.
You have anything else you'd like to say about him before we leave?
No, I don't have anything else. Just I just hope everyone enjoys the story we had today. I hope everyone would hit the like button and subscribe, and
and donate underneath.
Donate.
Donate and link. Please donate if you want to donate to the show. We don't do lives. We work. There's a lot of work on these shows. We put a lot of work into these, don't we, James?
Oh yeah, definitely so. So I mean, anything that you give would be great.
We're trying to find research that people don't know about. A lot of people know Chris Paciello was an informant, but a lot of people don't know exactly how many people he put away, on who he
Right.
informed on, and
Right.
how he came landing on his feet the way he has.
Yep.
But can you imagine, he lives in a mansion now, the way he lays back at night with his beautiful swimsuit model, soon to be wife. I mean, I've seen a picture of his soon to be wife. And
Yeah, just amazing to
he
me.
just got away with this. He did some time, short amount of time,
Mhm.
and that's that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and for most people, you don't have most people, there's a stigma if you've been in prison. For him, it just seems like a badge of honor or whatever. I don't know. It's just very unusual.
Badge of honor not to go to prison.
Yeah, yeah,
Do
exactly.
whatever you can to stay out of prison,
Hmm.
including sending other people to prison.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you, James. That's it for
Yeah.
now. Please like and sub this video. We appreciate it.